Welcome to the Riverside Golf Lab podcast. Today, I am talking to Marc Machado, CBU women's coach. How are you doing, Mark?
Good, man. Just happy to be here.
I'm happy to have you.
Thanks.
So, I've known you since probably before the Cart Barn at Victoria, junior golf, Cart Barn at Victoria, and now you're the women's coach at CBU, and you've been there for how many years?
Boy, this is my 14th season coming up. So I was an assistant for 5 years for both programs. And then this is going to be my 14th season. I think eighth with just the women.
Eighth as a head coach.
Yep.
And an assistant before that. How did you decide men's, women's? Is it just how it worked out, or?
So my AD pulled me in when they let the other coach go, and he said he wanted to go in another direction and asked me which program I wanted. And for the longest time, I thought, I was only going to coach men. I knew the game. I played at a high level. And after coaching as an assistant coach for 5 years, I just really wanted to be with the ladies. I feel like they listen better, at least at this age, and were more receptive. I remember how stubborn I was in college.
Me too.
I just thought this was going to be the best avenue for me. And now looking back, I think I made the right decision.
I think it's 100% true. I remember myself it's so common for guys to not get along with their coaches, I feel like, whereas you go to the women's side, they're so coachable in general. In general, they're just so coachable, and honestly, such a pleasure to be around because of that. I mean, as a instructor and a coach, there's like nothing more inviting and enjoyable than a coachable student.
Right.
It's nuts.
I thought everything my coach said back in the day was the wrong decision. When he'd ask me to hit a certain club, I'd be like, no, I'm going to hit the driver. And looking back, I think he had a lot of good things to say. I just didn't have the mental capacity to accept it, at least at that age.
We're just so stubborn. We just know it all. We just know it all. I don't know. It's definitely a difference in the sexes for sure, because they in general, they are so much more open and accepting of instruction. So, been at CBU for a long time. How did you get there? Where did you went to college at Point Loma?
Yeah, so I went to a small NAIA school, Point Loma Nazarene University in San Diego. Loved my time there. Didn't get along with my coach the best, but I loved my time. College golf is, if you've never experienced it yourself, it is, I think it's the best, honestly. The teammates, the camaraderie, the team aspect that comes into the golf game that you usually don't get unless you played high school golf. I think that's such a powerful thing. And so I played there, and then I went to go to get my master's degree at CBU for psychology counseling, met my wife there. Then we were going to get married, and I needed to get a job that paid actual money. So I went to go be a real estate assessor after being a counselor and therapist. And then the assistant job opened up at CBU, and my brother was on the team as a freshman. And so he called me up and said, hey, the assistant coach job is open up. You got to apply for it. And I didn't want to step on his toes because he's always been Mark's little brother. Got his permission, and he said to apply. I got the job, and that was 2011.
Time flies.
Yeah,
right?
crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy. So Point Loma, all 4 years at Point Loma?
All 4 years at Point Loma.
That's a beautiful place.
Oh, beautiful.
Oh, my
the coach
gosh.
didn't really have to recruit me. I saw the campus, I was like, yes, I'm going.
Is incredible. I mean, my stepsister went there, and the dorm she stayed at were on the cliffs.
Yep.
I mean, that's nuts. You walked down to the ocean to surf, carrying a surfboard.
Yeah. I wish I took advantage of it more, though. I was so focused on golf. But looking back, man, I wish I would have taken advantage of the beach that was literally steps away. Steps.
If only we knew, then what we know now, right? So now when you started as an assistant at CBU, what division were they?
Yeah, great question. So we were NAIA to start. Then we made the transition to Division II. And when you make that transition from NAIA to Division II, you have to sit out a postseason play for 3 years to make sure you got all the paperwork, document, everything in place. Then we went from Division II to Division I, and that was a 4-year transition period of sitting out. So it's trying to explain that to recruits and families. Yeah. They're kind of like, what did you do wrong? And it's actually like, no, we're doing something right here. You're doing
something right to move up, and then you almost get kicked down.
Exactly. But we're out of that transition period, and there's no other division up above D1. So
there's no more transitions.
I'm hoping no more transitions.
Until the NCAA is dissolved, and then who knows what we do from there.
Right.
So you've been D1 now for how many years?
Boy, this is 4, 5, 6 years, I think.
So second year out of the
year out of transition.
Very
Actually,
cool.
going into our third year, I believe.
Okay.
It's hard to keep track with all the transitions, but yeah.
And you have now I've only followed from abroad. I don't know a lot of the specifics, but as I followed from afar, You have been successful at every level. It has been impressive.
Well, I appreciate that. I think that CBU, we're in a unique situation where the president actually values and loves sports.
That's helpful.
And so that depends on university to university what the president's vision is for that overall university. And athletics is definitely a huge part of his plan. We were very successful at the NAIA level and the Division II level. We were kind of shocked that we were leaving the Division II level because we were up at the top of the Learfield Cup, which is where they rank all Division II, all Division I teams, and they kind of rank you based on all your sports. And we had won that Learfield Cup, and then we had made the announcement we're moving to D1. And so we've been successful, but D1 is another beast for sure.
It's another beast, and even within D1, I feel like there's different levels on the men's side and the women's side. But you guys are moving on up. I mean, every year you just get a little better, a little better. And what did you guys finish this last year ranked at?
I think we were in the 115. So, our ranking is a little deceptive because we're a mid-major. And so we're not getting into the biggest tournaments, but we won a couple tournaments this year. We won a couple tournaments individually. And so those are key markers of how are we doing successfully or not, We're getting into a little bit better, stronger tournaments. And so the ranking is not something that I rely on. I just kind of look at our stroke averages getting better? Are we getting into better tournaments? And the tournaments we're getting into, are we finishing up near the top, or do we have a chance to compete? We want to compete wherever we go.
For sure.
That's important to us.
Yeah. You said something. You said you aren't too worried about the rankings, but I mean, you've moved up the rank. I mean, 115 out of nearly 300 schools that are Division I.
Right.
I mean, that's impressive in your second year at Division I.
For sure.
That ranking
Thanks.
is nothing to sniff at. I mean, you get inside that. In my opinion, once you get into that range, you don't really reach that next level till like the top 50 of really the next high level. So I mean, you guys are just going to keep climbing.
I'd love to get inside the double digits. 99 would be really nice
next year.
But the schedule has to align properly, and you got to play well when you get those opportunities. Trying to fight that balance of a coach of putting too much pressure when we do get those opportunities, and being grateful for those. So just trying to treat it like another tournament. So that's something that I've learned in these couple of years for sure.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, it's so tough. You want the kids to do their best. They are trying to do their best.
Right.
And managing that is so difficult. Natalie Silva told me to ask you about your 4 pillars.
Okay.
So enlighten me.
When I took over the program, the women's program, I wanted the team to know, hey, we're a Division II at that point school, but what makes us unique from all the hundreds of Division II, Division I schools? So I started thinking about my business background. Apple, McDonald's, whatever that company may be, they have a foundation of what they stand for. And I wanted to differentiate what does CBU women's golf stand for, and something that we could hit home constantly. And so the 4 pillars are attitude, work ethic, heart, and short game. And my wife jokes that last one doesn't fit. And I said, well, short game is that important that we're going to put it in there. But attitude, the first one, it's simple. If you can have a good attitude, can you be coachable? Can you respond to adversity well? Those are things that are important to me. And the reason I put that number 1 is because I had the worst attitude when I was in high school and college. My dad walked off the course many times. You may have even played with me in a couple high school rounds, junior golf.
I'll give you a run for worst attitude.
And so, man, I really thought if I get another go around at this, that's the one thing that was missing out on my high school and collegiate career. And I think it's the most important thing. And so attitude, work ethic, are we going to work? I'm not trying to outwork everybody, but are we going to work as hard as everybody else and put in the necessary extra work? That's important at a high level. Heart is simply, when something bad happens, are you going to be able to have the courage to respond to that adversity? You make that bogey or double bogey, how are you going to respond and bounce back? And so I want players that have grit, heart, that are able to respond to the tough elements. Those are all things that come with being any collegiate athlete. And then short game, just kind of, if you're a golfer, short game is important.
You can save so many shots, so many different ways with that short game. Yeah. So as far as recruiting goes, how do you find out if players have those 4 pillars that you're looking for?
Yeah, when I go out and recruit, a lot of it is going to be Zoom calls, emails. I'm going to be calling up references, maybe their swing coach, somebody that may know them, a player, and just kind of doing a background check. But most people are going to say good things about their friends or colleagues. They're not going to give you the good stuff that you want to know. So when I'm going out to tournaments, or I have a Zoom call, I want to see the little external factors. Are they on time? Are they respectful on the Zoom call? Are they engaging? Are they asking me questions? Do they actually know about CBU?
Yeah.
Or am I just one of the 10 people that they're calling that week? And then when I go to a golf course, I love to go in the parking lot if I can and see, are mom and dad loading the clubs for them on the push cart? Are they handing them snacks every 2 holes?
They shouldn't be doing that.
I want those kids to be grateful for their parents, but also self-sufficient, because mom and dad aren't going to be there when they're in college. And so trying to see how they treat the person on the first tee announcing them when they're doing scorecards. Are they talking to their playing partners when it's appropriate? I think all those little factors say a lot about the person. And then the last thing is, I love to see when they play bad. And I know that sounds weird, but I already know they're a good player when I go out there. So I want to see, how are they going to respond? That heart we talked about. Do they have that grit, that tenacity to bounce back and keep fighting? Because in collegiate golf, you need to keep fighting until the end, because you could end up losing by 1, which we've done, or win by 1, which we've done. And so I want to see when they play bad, how are they handling that? Are they being neutral? Their attitude, all those things. And so I don't have it down to a science, but those are kind of some things. And if I have that red flag that I see, Mike, I haven't listened to it in the past where I would go, well, their score was this, and the score would kind of blind me to those things. And as I've gone coaching longer, 14th season, I just listen to my gut and go, if something's bothering me or something didn't feel right, I just listen to it.
Yeah.
Because there's been many times where I haven't listened to it and I've regretted it.
For sure.
And so that's kind of a little bit of what we're looking for.
Well, it's so interesting. I don't think any kids, especially when they're in the age that they're getting recruited, think at all about anything other than playing good while a coach is watching.
Sure.
But what all the coaches I know are looking for, all the good coaches, they're all looking not even at the score. They're there because they've seen you can post good scores.
Yep.
What else is there? What does it look like when it's bad? That's what, because that coach is going to be around you, good, bad, or ugly. And it's golf. There's going to be some ugly. How do you handle that?
Yep.
And in college golf, all of a sudden it's an individual thing where, who knows, maybe you're a young player that's withdrawn whenever things go sour. Now you can't withdraw. You've got a team that's actually relying on you, and you've got to hang on. So that's that. It's such a balanced and interesting way that golf is a team sport, even though it's been individual, and it's an individual sport primarily.
Right.
So crazy.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah. So do you ever look at the parents on the course?
The parents can be a blessing or a curse. And so when I'm talking to somebody, recruiting somebody, I always tell them, I'm not only recruiting you, but I'm recruiting your parents, because I want parents that are going to be invested in the program, excited for the program. And so that's an important part. If the emails are coming from the parents, or the Zoom call, when I have the parents on, they're dominating and not letting their kid answer, man, that's kind of a telling sign to me that if this is how it is on the first interview, so to speak, it's only going to get more and worse. Yeah. And so I listen to those red flags as much as I can. You want that good balance. And I've had some great parents that they stay at a distance, but when it's appropriate, they join us for meals, they host things, they donate to the program, they call me to congratulate us. That's the type of family that we're trying to cultivate here, with all these different girls from different nationalities, different upbringings. How can we put aside all those differences and become a family? That's an important part, Yeah,
definitely. You bring up a good point. So you've got a pretty international roster, and from what I've seen, you do a lot of international recruiting. How do you do that?
So a lot of that, my very first recruit was Marvi Monsalve, and she's from the Philippines. I was so nervous when I went up to recruit her and make the offer and talk to her. My wife is Filipino, so I understood the culture, the food, all those type of things. And so that was kind of like my easy way in to talk about that. And I think the best thing has been word of mouth or referrals. So if I have a girl that comes onto the team and then they go, hey, you should check out my friend, man, that's such a nice thing to hear, because that means they enjoyed their time, they enjoyed playing for me, and they're referring somebody that they care about, whether that's a family member, a friend, a cousin, whoever that may be, to also have that experience. And so I rely heavily on the girls on the team. If they have any connections, we have different recruiting agencies that we work with, different contacts over in different countries. So that's kind of what we do, is kind of vet the process through all those avenues. And then I always ask the girls on my team if they have somebody on tour or on campus, what do they think of them? And if any of the select few that I have be with them don't feel good about it, I trust them.
Yeah.
And I just say, man, I really thought she was going to be good, but I'm going to trust you guys because you know the dynamics and the culture we're looking for.
Yeah.
And you got to see an inside look that I probably didn't get to see because everyone's on their best behavior with me.
That is one thing that I've watched just from your social media presence and the culture that your teams have. I mean, they enjoy being out on these trips, traveling, playing tournaments. Of course, there's the lows of losing and the highs of winning like we experienced, but they enjoy being out there. And you guys eat some great food while you're out there too.
I appreciate that. That's culture is such a word that's thrown around so much.
Yeah.
But I think it's so important. We talk about balance and family. Those are two words I talk about in the recruiting process. If you come to CBU, I want you to have a balanced life where you focus on golf. We do well. We have a chance to win and excel and achieve your goals. But also, are you going to be able to create lifelong friends? Are you going to be able to do well in the classroom? I think that creating that balance is so important. And that adds to the culture that we're talking about of having fun. When I first started coaching, there were no days off. It was, we are going to outwork everybody, outgrind everybody. And when we would win, it was almost relief. And I remember sitting in the bus after we won, and I was relieved that we won. And I just was like, there's no way this is how it should be.
Yeah.
And so we do some funny things. Like when we win a tournament, we crank up Queen, We Are the Champion, and we have to sing it together. We bring the trophy to the dinner table, and we put a seat for the trophy. And I just tell them, I go, we need to enjoy this because it's so hard to win at any level.
Yes.
I don't care if it's NAI or Division II. It is hard to win. And so when the stars align, we got to enjoy this. It cannot be a relief. And so as I've gotten older, trying to find that balance of days off, fun days, maybe we just need to go, let's play pickleball today. Let's not go to the golf course. It's hard for me as a competitive coach.
Of course.
But the more days I've given off, the better we've done because there's less burnout and more enjoyment. You know, I want them to be able to have fun out there.
It's definitely a fine balance to
but be competitive too.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. You've got to ride that line of not burning out people, because if ever there's a sport to get burnt out on, it's golf.
Absolutely.
Especially in Southern California where you can golf every day for countless hours. You've recruited a lot internationally. Have you ever recruited a player that you've not seen play in person?
I have.
Yeah.
I've had several girls that have not set foot on campus, and I've never seen them on the golf course. And I've just seen swing videos, lots of Zoom calls, lots of phone calls, and both made that leap. It takes some courage on their end, courage on my end. And man, I've had it work out really well sometimes. One of our former captains, Jocelyn Chi from Malaysia, I had never seen her play. She stepped foot on campus, and I remember her coming to my office, barely speaking because she was so nervous. And she has been one of the most impactful people on my team and in our program and culture, and super grateful for her. So sometimes it just works out, but I don't like it to always happen that way. But usually the Zoom calls are super important if we do enough of them to kind of figure out communication and all of that.
What kind of tournaments are these players playing in that you're obviously looking at their scores,
right?
So what kind of tournaments are they playing in that you're looking at?
So some of them are on their national team back home, whatever that may be, and they're playing in a lot of local tournaments. And so the international girls get a lot of Wagger points because they're playing constantly, and it could be a field of 8 girls, 4 girls, 30 girls. It's just so different over there.
Yeah.
And I've kind of realized that the courses over there in a lot of different Asian cultures are very hard compared to over here because we have pristine conditions over here. And so I don't want to take into account the score and ranking points too much because it can kind of be swayed. But I'm looking at, I go to Junior World. That's a big one where we actually get all of the different international girls to come into one location. Just happens to be in our backyard, San Diego.
Thankfully, right?
Yeah. And so I've done a lot of recruiting through there, and that's really helped out for sure.
Very cool. How many players do you keep on a roster?
Right now I have 8. I think 7 to 9 is ideal. I think 8 is nice for drills. We can do 1 versus 1, 2 versus 2, and then you're asking golf courses for 2 tee times versus 3 or 4. But we don't have an assistant coach, and so having less quality girls is important because I want to be able to give them attention,
Yeah.
give them more gear. All those things play into that role if we have less girls that are on the team. That
Yeah.
makes sense.
For sure. For those international players that come over, are there any things CBU does that maybe other campuses don't do that to basically get them comfortable, or something you might have to do?
Sure. I think I couldn't imagine doing that
Neither can
myself,
I.
going to another country, especially if English is,
Yeah.
not my primary language. And
30
so,
years spent trying to learn Spanish. It's still working.
little things like if they're a freshman and they're not traveling with their family, my wife and I try to pick them up at the airport just so there's some sort of safety, comfortability with the family. CBU's got an international department that's really, really great. And so they take them through all the visa, passports. They'll show them around the area, places to shop, things that they need, lists. I'm sure other universities do that, but our international department is really hands-on and personable. And so they do a lot of events throughout the year for international students. And then my biggest thing, that first semester is so important with an international girl.
Yeah.
Trying to make sure they're comfortable culturally here at CBU. Maybe something made them feel weird, and just to talk through it with them, or
Yeah.
lingo, language, all that different stuff. There's so many things at play, and letting them know my expectation that I'm happy that I'm here, that they're here, and it's not more pressure. They don't have to prove anything to me. Like, you're here, you're valued, and you're more than just your score here. That's the biggest thing for me, to try and communicate that to them.
It's almost got to be like golf for them is kind of like almost a comfort thing. Like, that's
Right.
the only thing that's consistent in that big move is, hey, going out on the golf course and playing golf.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's got to be an interesting aspect or perspective that they have, because everything is
For
different.
sure.
That's
Just going to
crazy.
Target or going to a place
Yeah.
to eat and order. What do I order? Some of them have experience of traveling over here to the States, for Junior World or other tournaments, and some don't. And
Yeah.
so trying to meet them where they're at and let them know it's okay. This is normal.
Yeah.
And so I try to do a Zoom call with the freshmen before and let them know, hey, this is kind of what to expect. And then throughout the recruiting process, these are some things that you might feel or might, expect, and try to maybe connect them with another girl that's also international so that they can share their experience. I think having that shared commonality, so you're not thinking, man, I'm strange. Am I only going through this?
Yeah.
Tons of people are going through this.
I feel like your experience once you deal with a few international players, it just grows, and you can probably learn each time. When did you start bringing in international players? Was it right from the get-go, or
So right when I took over the women's program, international girls were going to be my primary focus. I love having local girls too, especially good local girls that have good families, because then they can host meals for us. It's nice to have a home away from home for these international girls if they want to go home on Thanksgiving break or something and experience American culture more. So I'm trying to find that balance of, we're predominantly international, but I also want to have some California girls. And so we actually have a freshman from Fresno coming in, Lisa, that I'm really excited about. And so I think if we can get that good balance, it would be beneficial for both the internationals and the Americans.
Yeah, I can see positives to both, but yeah, local. If you can stay local, that's really cool from like a kind of growing the program and fundraising potential.
Yeah, absolutely.
And CBU, it has grown so much, and you've been there the whole time. How much has it grown? I just drive by and I can tell it's grown, but you've been there and watched the whole thing.
Man, I don't know. I know we're probably about 11,000 students right now, but it was not that. When I started in 2011, we had no basketball arena. Now we have a, 5,000 seat arena for basketball. We have business buildings. We've got a athletic room for just athletes.
It's beautiful.
All the
too.
stuff that, thanks. All the stuff that we didn't have before. I've seen pictures before and after. You kind of forget, the past.
Yeah.
But man, I'm so grateful for the investment from the president and everybody into athletics. And so I joke with my recruits, I used to just have to recruit solely on personality, and that was it, because I had nothing else to offer in the beginning. Now we have beautiful buildings. We have golf courses that we can use that are nice. So it's a little easier in that recruiting process.
Where do you guys play?
So we try to play locally at the best courses. So Victoria Club is a local private club. Goose Creek has been really kind to us. Great practice facility there. Eagle Glen, Oak Quarry, Harupa Hills, Canyon Crest. That's kind of our hub of golf courses. And we try to not wear our welcome out at any individual course. So we kind of spread out amongst the week at those 5-6 golf courses. And they've been really great to work with. And I believe those are probably the best in the area.
Yeah, I definitely agree. What does the travel schedule look like for you guys? Is it pretty consistent or change year to year? Or
Yeah, so we travel. It's so different from NAIA to Division II to Division I. I feel like the travel's gotten more as we've gotten up to Division I. So the fall semester, we are going to be hopping on a plane all 4 tournaments.
Okay.
And so this next year, we're going to Utah. We are going to, where else are we going to? Chicago, Arkansas, Seattle. So we're going to hop on a plane for all 4 of those. And then the spring is going to be more, I say local, but it's going to be more of, Las Vegas, Nevada, Arizona, California trips.
Kind of southwestern.
So we're going to hop on a bus, which I enjoy hopping on the bus. We have bus drivers. I can just fall asleep and not worry about someone missing their passport or what it may be.
Flights are stressful.
So
for sure.
that's kind of the breakup of doing that. Last year we went to Puerto Rico in the spring, which was amazing. Wow. So we'll try to throw in a Puerto Rico or Hawaii or some tropical location every 2 years if we can. Years.
And how does that schedule get set? Is that all you, and how does that work?
Yeah, so most sports like basketball, soccer, you're going to get home and away with whoever's in your conference. Mm-hmm. Golf is an invite-only sport. So you are constantly trying to strengthen relationships with other coaches. Maybe one of them owes you a favor, so they're going to let you into their event this time. Maybe you can't get into their event this year, but maybe in 2 years you can. So it takes a lot of planning and preparation of, okay, if I can't get in this year, can I get in 2 years? And so just a lot of communication with the other coaches, and then trying to figure out, I don't want to overwhelm the girls on the team in terms of back-to-back tournaments. So how is spacing involved? And then also your budget financially. Can you afford to go to all these places? Do you need to fundraise a little bit? So I think it's kind of a Rubik's Cube trying to solve how are we going to do this? But I think it's worked out well having a lot of flights in the fall and then more of the Southwest, like you said, in the spring.
And you kind of developed that schedule? Was it different when you came on and you've kind of created that?
It was so different. It was kind of a mix. So it'd be like, oh, we might go to California, then Florida, or this or that. And so I like to have that play in the fall where we're going to just travel all over, see some unique golf courses that maybe we wouldn't see, and kind of set the tone early that we're going to travel and try to compete against the best. And then the spring is a longer semester, and so you have a lot more on your plate in terms of school responsibilities. So I don't want to be hopping on the plane as much in the spring.
Gotcha. And you said your semesters at CBU?
Yeah, we are semesters, so fall and spring.
Yeah. How long is your winter break?
Winter break is, you probably get like 3 weeks off for Christmas. So our fall is going to go from end of August till Thanksgiving break. Then they have finals week, and then they get 3 weeks off for Christmas break, and then we get them back at the midpoint of January, and then hopefully we're going until May.
Okay. And then how many events do you usually play before postseason?
So we play 4 in the fall, and then in the spring we play 6 full tournaments.
Oh, wow.
And then we'll also have a fun Ryder Cup. It's called the SoCal Ryder Cup to start our spring semester off. It's always in January. CBU against Cal State Fullerton. I think this is going to be year 7 or 8 that we've done it. And it's just a nice way for me and their coach to kind of get the rust off of the kids after Christmas break and just get the nerves out before the first real official tournament. So it's a pride thing, but both programs still want to win it. So whoever wins it gets to keep the Ryder Cup trophy at their office for that next year.
Very cool. Yeah, definitely want to knock that rust, see where everyone's at.
Yeah, absolutely. And then everybody gets to play. So no qualifying for that. Everyone's playing, and you get that tournament experience.
And you say everyone's playing. So normally do you take 5 players for a team event?
So we carry 8 or 9 girls usually, and 5 make it. So that's a tough thing that not all of them get to travel. I would love for them all to have a seat on the plane, a seat on the bus, but that's just not, it's not going to work financially, and they can't miss class for those reasons. So 5 are going to play. We have qualifying to see who's going to go. So I may say, hey, you've got 4 rounds, 14 holes, 18, 9, 18, and the top 3 girls are going to have a seat on the plane or bus, and then I'm going to choose the 4th and 5th spot, or maybe I just choose the 5th spot. And so mini tournaments, inter-squad tournaments is what's going to determine who's going to get to
gonna
actually
win.
play on the road.
And do you take individuals at all ever, or no?
Sometimes I do. I think it's important to kind of manage the schedule and have individuals once in a while. If individuals are always on the road, I feel like it creates this sense of looking over your shoulder where that 5 girl or 4 girl are kind of looking over their shoulder of like, oh man, coach doesn't trust me. Why did he bring this person?
Interesting.
But you also want to create depth on your team. So it's this weird thing to balance. Yeah. And so I'd love the Ryder Cup tournament to bring everybody, and then one other tournament throughout the year. I try to bring the whole squad, so that we'll have 3 individuals or 4, so they get some experience, some reps, and maybe someone surprises me, and that gets them a chance to be in the lineup again. So at least 2 times I'd love for them all to play, and then we might take an individual once or twice.
Do you have a favorite tournament?
That's a good question. Man, we just played in Gonzaga's tournament up in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho.
Okay.
Oh man, it's a beautiful golf course. We didn't play well, but that's how I knew that our team loved this event, because we didn't play well and they couldn't stop talking about it. So despite the poor scores, everybody wants to go back. They're not hosting it this year, but the following year they will. So that's probably one of the top ones. And then, Puerto Rico and Hawaii, those are always great ones. It's hard to top Hawaii, the food, the culture, the courses. So, but those are probably a couple.
Do you guys play the same place in Hawaii when you've gone, or different courses?
We've played different courses, so it just depends. It could be on a different island. So the coach kind of has moved it from year to year. And then as they get a new coach occasionally, that coach has a say on where they're going to host it. So it's been different every time, which is kind of nice.
What's the favorite course of yours that you guys have played at a tournament?
Favorite course that we've played? Chicago Loyola hosts a tournament at the Merritt Club where they had the Women's U.S. Open, and it is a phenomenal golf course. Extremely hard, but you can tell that the course is built for a main stage venue, so there could be bleachers out there. You can just tell that it was made for that. And so seeing the girls on that caliber of a golf course, when it's kind of empty out there, it's kind of a surreal feeling of just looking out and seeing the beautiful golf course. But the Merritt Club in Chicago is one of our favorite ones to go to. We've only gone to it once, and we're going to go back this fall for a second time.
Very cool. How do you do goals? Do you have goals for each player, for the team, both?
Sure. So when I first started, I would set the goals. I'd be like, all right, team, this is A, B, C, and D. This is what we're going to accomplish. And then I kind of realized over the years, man, I'm not playing. Why am I setting these goals? And so now our first team meeting, I kind of share with them what have been some past goals that we've had, some expectations, maybe some standards that we may have. I like to use those words, standards and expectations. And then I tell them, you guys have a week to come up with some goals for us, fall, spring, overall season, whatever that may be. I'd love some in the classroom goals, some on the golf course goals. And so this last year, they came up with the goals themselves. Captain presented it to me. And I had a team meeting with all of them and said, this is what you guys want. I want everyone to sign this piece of paper. So I had everybody sign that piece of paper, because that's your word, that's your bond, that's your signature. It should mean something to you. And so we laminated that piece of paper, stuck it on my door. And every time they'd come see me, they'd see that laminated piece of paper of goals they made.
Yeah.
And that they signed. And so that was kind of something we did. And I'd love to continue to do that.
How'd you guys do on those goals?
I think we accomplished all of them except for winning the WAC championship.
Awesome.
We fell 4 shots short of that, but we were right in the hunt. And that's one of our goals, is to always just be in the mix.
Yeah,
maybe be in the final group, have a chance.
Yeah.
And so I'm not sure this year if I want to go away from setting specific scores and, we got to win 2 or 3 times, and more process-oriented goals. I'm still kind of working through that, but I love the fact that they came up with the goals, and it gives them more ownership rather than me telling them to do something because I like it.
Gotcha. What is kind of the average score for most of your players look like?
Yeah, so most of my girls are going to be averaging somewhere between 73 to 76. I always tell the recruits from high school, your scores are going to go up initially because the courses are much harder. The conditions are going to be harder. The length is going to be longer. You're going to be balancing a lot of things, relationships. You're going to be balancing family, academics, all those things are going to play a role.
Yeah.
You're going to have to do your laundry for the first time maybe in your life. And so
grow up a little bit all of a sudden. Yeah.
All that time management plays a lot of factors into that. And so that's kind of where our scores lie. And we want to continually try to improve those with future recruits.
Yeah, that makes sense. Say someone's wants to reach out to CBU to play for you, what should they do?
I think email is great. It's a great start, but I tell recruits you can't be the one and done email and say, oh, well, coach didn't respond to me.
Yeah.
He must not be interested. Even at CBU as a mid-major school, I get a ton of emails every week of girls wanting a spot on the team. And like I said, we're trying to cap it at 8, maybe 9. So those spots are valuable and precious and hard to come by.
Yeah.
And so reaching out and being persistent, can you make yourself somewhat unique compared to everybody else instead of the generic stock email of hi coach, and basically you just sub out the other coach's name for my name,
or you forget,
which I've gotten many of those, and I go, oh, I'm not Coach Smith. So I think those are important, being persistent. I think getting yourself in front of the coach, whether you make it an opportunity to go see the campus or set up a Zoom call to show your personality. It's hard to show your personality through an email or a text message. And so getting that chance to be in front of that coach is very important, and setting yourself apart. I have Zoom calls where after them I go, man, I'm not going to forget that girl.
Yeah.
A couple questions they asked or a couple funny things. They have to be themselves, most importantly, but being able to set yourself apart. It's like a job interview.
Yeah.
And so how can you help that coach to remember you? I think that's important, but
definitely.
being persistent is important.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, persistence. I mean, it would show a lot, especially if, say, you were to forget to respond to an email and you keep getting emails. It shows that person actually really wants to come,
right,
and is persistent, which is such a good trait in general in golf. You can't have any quit.
Right, and I want those girls to portray that they're excited about CBU.
Yeah.
I don't want to be convincing them like, oh, you need to come, or begging them to come. I want girls that are excited about the opportunity and excited about what we have to offer. I don't want to hear, well, so-and-so has this.
Yeah.
Well, we're not so-and-so. And so I want you to be excited about what we have to offer. And so finding that right fit is so important, more than just the score. Are they the right fit personality-wise? Are they going to add some stuff to our culture like we've been talking about? That is so important to me. And just that level of excitement. You've got to show excitement that you're for this opportunity rather than just kind of being neutral, which is what you want to be on the golf course, but maybe not so much in the interview.
To get there. And I mean, it is exciting. There is just nothing better than college golf, in my opinion. It is so fun, and you just won't get that team dynamic if you go on. I mean, most college athletes aren't going to go on to play professionally, but if you do, that's it. Like, maybe you'll travel with one person, two persons at the most.
Yeah.
But most likely you'll be on your own, and it is lonely out there.
It is.
So, and it is that you look back at it and don't realize how much fun it was. But man, just that team dynamic it's unmatched. There's nothing like
and everything is taken care of for you.
Yes.
You're literally told, show up at this time.
Yes.
This is your tee time. This is how many holes we're playing. This is what we're doing today. And
Here's
so,
your food.
oh man, it is. I just go to the cafeteria at CBU once in a while, and just getting the food already made, not having to do dishes. I'm like, it's the life. I wish I could go back to college.
If only. Many college players and students complain about how tough it is, but man, it only gets tougher from there.
For sure. For
It
sure.
only gets tougher from there. How does scholarships work? How well funded are you at CBU?
So we're fully funded amongst all of our sports. So the NCAA is they're going to set, okay, this is how many scholarships you can have. So for women's golf, we have 6 scholarships, and we can give those out however we'd like. And then so that's amongst the girls on the team. And so we're going to divvy those up, and some girls are going to be on no scholarship. Some are going to be on big, some middle. But there's always room to grow and earn more depending on play, depending on if you're a great teammate. Those are all various factors. But I try to not decrease girls. I tell them, I'm recruiting you. I'm taking a chance on you, and you're taking a chance on me. It's only going to go up here unless you're not doing certain things right. You're getting disciplinary action, you're not following team rules, well, then we're going to have to take action there. But other than that, I want you to have that burden and pressure off. You're already here. You have a roster spot. You have scholarship, whatever that may be. You've earned it to this point. So let's just go out and try to have fun. And maybe you get an increase if you supersede any expectation.
So you've got, in theory, 8 roster spots, and you said you're fully funded, but that's only 6 scholarships.
Right.
So already you got all these kids coming out thinking they're going to get full rides. You can't do it.
Right. And most schools are not fully funded.
Yeah.
And so just because the NCAA allows 6, they may only have 2. And so that's kind of a myth amongst college golfers is I have to get a full ride. Getting a full ride is extremely difficult and rare to get that. And so the coach has to be really set and really sure that this is going to be someone that's going to knock it out of the park from their freshman year.
Yeah.
And usually that freshman year, there's a lot of time to learn and grow and make mistakes and learn from those experiences. And so sometimes just getting a roster spot, even with no scholarship, is extremely hard to find.
For sure. Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, you just run out. You've got all these good players all over the world vying for these 8 spots and only 6 scholarships that you got to spread out the best way you can. What is your favorite thing about being at CBU?
Man, the people. I've had other job opportunities that I've looked at, and I love the people I work with. I love that our administration, our president, vice president, AD care about athletics. I think that's very important because I'm in athletics. And so having people that support you and want to push the envelope and not just settle for average, I think that shows where our university is heading and constantly growing.
Yeah.
But we all have to remind ourselves to be patient because when you're having any growth, it takes time. And so just because we were at the top for Division II, it takes time to improve year to year. And so I'm reminding myself of that, of just day by day, season by season, are we going to improve a little bit? That's important for us to just continue that trend in the right direction. But the people I work with, the other coaches, the admin, second to none, honestly, really good people.
That's incredible. It's so important to have good people around you. I've been fortunate and had some incredible bosses in my life, and it's just, I mean, I look back on those times as just the best times. And you don't even know how good they are at the time. At the time, but it's just having a good boss is incredible. Where do you think your program is headed next year in the short term? I know you said you don't set goals, but where do you think next year could be? A 115, which is, in my opinion, incredible in 2 years at D1. Right. From D2.
Don't quote me on 115. It's somewhere right around there. I think that I want to have opportunities to win tournaments again. I'd love to win at least 1 or 2 more events, just to show that we're competitive. But a goal for us is going to be to win the WAC championship and get to NCAA postseason regionals for the first time in program history. So when we were in that transition period where we had 4 years of being banned from the postseason, we actually won conference, but we couldn't go to regionals.
Oh my gosh.
So that was kind of a pride thing where we still wanted to show that we could win, but man, it still hurt that we couldn't go.
I can't imagine.
So we have that feeling, that taste in our mouth still from a couple years ago. And so that's always going to be our focus, is to get to postseason. And I'm going to tell the team at the first meeting this year, that's our goal, but I'm not going to talk about it anymore after that. In my time as a coach, early on, I put so much pressure on the team, and it takes away from that fun that we talked about, that balance of me hovering. Golf is hard enough. You know, I remember my coach used to say, "Why'd you hit it out of bounds?" And I'm like, "I'm not trying to."
What?
You know?
You're not trying to.
So it's like, if you know golf, you're trying your best out there. If you're having a good attitude and trying, that's all that matters. And so I see our team having a chance to win conference this year. I really do. We were 4 shots away this year. And so I think those returners are going to have that bad taste in their mouth. And hopefully that will propel them to work harder. And to do the little things right. I think that's important, to do the little things right. And, you know, who's to say that we couldn't be a top 100 team next year? But my main goal is going to be to win the WAC championship and to be competitive in every tournament that we enter.
Who's your competition in the top 3 teams up there with you?
Yeah, big competitors are going to be Grand Canyon University, great team. Seattle University, they won it last year. Those are going to be the top contenders. And then we have a whole bunch of Texas schools, Utah schools. And as you know, golf, anything can happen
Very
over
volatile.
3 short
volatile.
days. It's a 54-hole event. Anything can happen. And so it's tough that if you're not ranked inside the top 50, you need to win conference to go to postseason. And so there's a lot riding on 3 days. Doesn't matter what happened the whole season, those 3 days, anything can happen. So, but I also like the chance that anything can happen for us on those 3 days.
For sure. Yeah, if people don't follow college golf, I mean, you will get nothing more exciting than following college golf, because I mean, how it works, you play 5 players and you count 4 scores. I mean, that's 4 scores they're great players, but they're still college kids.
Yeah.
And those scores can really vary.
Yeah.
So who knows what can happen? The swings that you can see from day to day, much
especially
less
with nerves and how they're feeling or what's going on in their life. I always tell them, I go, I know 80s aren't good scores, but guess what? In college golf, an 80 is better than 81.
Yeah.
And that may be the difference in winning a tournament.
For sure. Yeah, it's amazing. I don't know how many times I've gone up to a player and they thought their score wasn't going to count. And I'm like, dude, your score's counting.
That's the last thing you want a player to tell you.
Yeah.
Is my score being dropped? And you're like, no, it's not.
No, it's not. I'm sorry. I know you're having a bad day, but guess what? Someone else is having a worse day.
For sure.
That's why you've got that grit that we keep coming back to. That grit. If you can find players with grit, oh my gosh, that's all you need, it seems like. It's incredible. Yeah. And like you say, you can really see it during the bad rounds.
For sure.
When you play out there. So, CBU, how many years you said?
This is going to be season 14 coming up.
That's incredible. Time just flies.
I know.
How can you grow your program? What does it need to, I don't know, be a mainstay in the top 100, this top 60?
Yeah. I think continuing to get better recruits, I think that's important. And I'm always grateful for the past alumni because they've laid the foundation. And we talk about leaving it better than you found it. That's a famous college book. Mike McGraw from Baylor, he talks about that a lot. And so whatever class is coming in, be grateful for what you have because odds are it's better than the class before you. And how can you leave this program better for the future classes? And having girls that care about the program after they graduate and investing in the program, not financially, just are they still following us? Are they referring other recruits to us, putting a good word in? I think those are important things. Course access, continuing to work with the head professionals in the area and getting access, that is key to our success. Are we going to have the ability to practice and play at these beautiful golf courses? And having it be a communal effort between all of us and not just be Coach Machado being the dictator. I want everybody that comes in to have a role in how we do things. And I tell them, don't be a couch coach that says, I don't like this. That's okay if you don't like it, but have maybe 2 or 3 options that we could try and place fit. And man, there's been times where a girl has said, why don't we try this? And we've tried it and it's been awesome. And so taking my ego out of the equation and reminding myself, I have an awesome job. I can't believe I get paid to do this, but also it's not about me. It's about these kids and their experience. And so I think the more we can do stuff together as a family, balanced culture, and live by those 4 pillars, I only think we're going to get stronger and climb the ranking, climb the win category, and have those opportunities for postseason if we do things the right way and not try to jump or cut corners.
Yeah, it's amazing how important it is to just process. And the more you stay focused on those little things, all of a sudden the big things start to take care of themselves. How many returners do you have coming in this year?
I have 5 returners and then 3 freshmen coming in to make up our 8.
Yeah, and the 5 returners, what years are they?
So I have a senior who is a transfer from GCU. Didi, she's from Italy. I have a junior from the Philippines, Samantha Dizon. She's going to be our team captain. I have a junior from Paraguay, Brazil, Domini. I have a sophomore from Thailand, Pusanisa, and then another sophomore from the Philippines, Sunshine. Got a wide array of names here. And then freshman coming in, Lisa from Fresno, Sophia from the Philippines, and Nana from Japan. So awesome. You are all over. We've got 7 international girls and 1 California girl in Lisa from Fresno. But I think we have a great group of people. Yeah. First and foremost. So I'm excited to coach them.
And of just a broad range of years. Like you've got the young and you've got the old. They can mentor them. Oh man, that's going to be a cool year.
We're a young team. We still got a couple years, and there's going to be a year where we have Didi graduate, and we're going to be returning basically the same squad. So that's exciting to have that where there's not a lot of turnover. So that group, that core group, knows what to expect and can take that into the next year.
For sure. And that's just so hard to balance too, the girls coming in, the girls going out. You mentioned a transfer. How has the portal been? Have you had much interaction with the portal?
I think the portal, man, there's positives and negatives to it. Back in the day, if you wanted to leave your team, you had to go have a conversation with your coach and request to leave. Now you can just find out from another coach that so-and-so's in the portal. And
Yeah.
so something that I've prided myself on is I haven't had anybody transfer on their own fruition. It's a couple girls that we've had leave. I've told them they need to leave, but we've had a good longevity and consistency in our program where people that come here are happy to be here.
Yeah.
And so I look in the portal occasionally, but we recruit so far out that I already have 2 verbals for 2025. And then we don't have any turnover for 26. So we're already looking at 27s, which is crazy.
Yeah.
You can't talk to them according to the rules, but you can keep an eye on them. And so going that far out, oftentimes it doesn't leave a spot for a transfer.
Yeah.
And so unless something happens where someone leaves unexpectedly or gets injured or something like that happens, I've tried to not rely on the portal too much. And I love getting the freshmen in because then I can cultivate that relationship over 4 years versus sometimes you get 1 or 2 years. It doesn't feel like it was enough.
For sure.
You know?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. It's so interesting seeing it from both perspectives. You know, I talked to my wife, obviously. She had to request a release and then was denied and had to sit out a year. And then I had Kevin Fitzgerald in here, and I had forgotten that he transferred from UC Davis to UCR. And just because it was interconference, he lost a year of eligibility.
Right.
So it's like, I don't know if this transfer portal is totally the right thing, but it's definitely not way over there either, where you lose a year of eligibility.
I think case by case, there may be a situation that the transfer portal calls for. Someone needs to get back home. Maybe their parent's sick. They need to be closer to home. There's always a case by case situation where this is going to be beneficial.
Yeah.
But I think in terms of accountability for these kids, I not having that face-to-face conversation, I think that that's lost in it. And I think that the mentality of the grass is greener elsewhere.
Yeah.
That's not always the case.
Yeah,
and so a lot of these kids, I don't know the stat specifically, but there is a huge chunk of kids that go into the portal and never find another school.
Yeah, that'd be an interesting
I
stat
forget,
to
some
know.
coach
Yeah.
told me at Junior World that he thought it was, 63%. Don't quote me on that, but they're thinking, oh man, I'm going to find a spot. No problem. I'm going to find a full ride. That is not the case because you're recruiting 2-3 years out sometimes. That spot may not even be available. So it's, but like I said, for some people, it is beneficial to get a new, fresh start. Absolutely. If they don't gel with the coach or something is not going right, it's okay for that,
Yeah, and it's hard for a young person to have that kind of objectivity to know, oh, maybe I'm not good enough to just jump onto another squad.
Right.
And I think a lot of people think that, oh yeah, I just jump in the portal, I'm for sure going to find another spot. But man, that would be a horrible way for your college career to end, is you jump in that portal and then you're just...
You finally found a spot and a home, and then you lost it.
You lost it. You gave it away. It's that whole grass is greener thing's definitely...
I tell every recruit, Mike, every single phone call I have with them, I always say, the most important thing is not the major, the scholarship amount, the location, all those factors. They're important, but the most important thing is your relationship with the head coach, because that relationship will make or break your 4 years.
Yeah.
And if you get along with that head coach, man, it can be the four of the best years of your life, or it could be 4 of the worst years of your life if you don't click with that person and you're in the transfer portal. And so I always tell them, man, listen to your gut. If we're having a Zoom call and something feels off about our conversation or with another coach, listen to yourself, because you're going to have to spend a lot of time with this individual.
Yeah, I feel like, and that's where your culture that you've developed with your team, you and your team have this just incredible culture where it's just like like you've said, it's a family. It's like a home away from home for all these international girls. And it's just, I mean, CBU is a place to go for golf now. It's really impressive
Appreciate
to watch
that.
what
Thanks.
you've done. I mean, I just watch the rankings. I haven't watched you guys play in an event or anything. I just watched the rankings, and at each level that you've been at, it's just been successful. And it just shows you're doing the right things.
Thanks.
Yeah. So very impressive. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah,
Thanks
Mike, thanks for
to me
having me,
today.
man. I
Yeah.
appreciate it.